especially our teachers, the majority of our teachers who continue to go beyond the call of duty. And I know in the last program you did mention about the outcome of the CPA and how the teachers did a great job.
Right.
And all those who had their graduation exercise, I know it was another extremely busy time for teachers preparing for graduation and that sort of thing.
Correct.
And those in the classroom who continue to prepare reports, promotion lists, and it seems as though the teachers' work never ends, because from one thing to the next, So I'm happy to be here with you. I took a little break for a little while, but we have business to deal with.
We have a lot of business to deal with.
And I'm hoping that we'll be able to execute the program. We have somebody who would join us online, and I sure you would introduce that person at the time.
Yeah, when that person is ready.
Yeah. And while we are in the carnival season, very early we want people to really be very conscious of their security, securing their property, that sort of thing, and also to make sure be in moderation in what you do. We do not want people to be driving recklessly. We have had enough accidents already. We have had enough deaths. So let us be our brother's keeper, and whatever you do, do it in love, peace, and unity. Right, so I want to thank you for continuing the program. I want to wish the executive officers, our staff, all the best. You have a little vacation this weekend. And I want to join with the PR also and appreciate those out there who continue to give us feedback. There are people who look out to this program and they are very happy with the service that we are giving in terms of nation building through this forum. And we will continue to do our best. So over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now our topic for today is justice delayed, justice denied. And I am noticing on your t-shirt you have justice for all.
For all, yes.
Yes, justice for all. So well, we will have somebody joining us in studios, right? But and that is something that is very important. That is definitely a case of justice delayed and justice denied. However, by now persons would be asking, tell me, Jill, what's wrong? What's wrong? What did I forget to do? Okay, so okay. Yeah, that should help, yeah. All right. So, yes, big up Jill. Jill is doing her thing here and helping me out with this whole new setup. So, we are going to big up Boom FM for that, making sure that we are heard and everything is okay with us. So persons have been asking, what is going on with the case with regards to the dismissed workers, dismissed teachers, and we've been hearing several things about it. So, through media, various nitpicks and snippets and things like that, and we heard something about a law being maybe passed. Brought to Parliament. What has been really going on where that is concerned?
Well, if we go back to when the government, the chief spokesman for the government is the Prime Minister.
Right.
And we heard him saying to the workers, just go to the Service Commission, give them your name, everything is intact. But when our teachers went there, they realized they took the name. And then shortly after, you hear the Minister of Education saying to the teachers in Beckley when he paid a visit there that you have to apply through the Ministry of Education.
Right.
So you have two Ministers of Education. One is saying go to the Service Commission. The other one is saying come to us at the Ministry of Education. Right? And those teachers who went back, in fact, I've seen one job letter that has two different dates when the person actually started to work. Way back then, many years ago, there's a date there, and then there's a recent date saying now start to work 2023. So they seem to be confusing you know.
So are you saying on the recent job letter there are two
Right.
different dates?
There are two different dates. I
Okay.
have the documented evidence of that.
So which one would you take into account if you have to let's say calculate various benefits and vacation and all these kind of things?
But that goes to the core of what the Prime Minister said recently. Because if you tell the people come back, everything in intact, you have all the benefits.
Right.
Why is it now that he's trying to mislead the nation and the world? That you going up, but he's saying no, you're going to pass a law
Right.
so that you get your pension, which means those who went back before have no pension. All you have to do is repeal the vaccine mandate that is there. Repeal the law, and everything would go back to normal.
So if the law is repealed,
Automatically everything goes back because you'd have to reinstate.
But wait a minute. If the law is repealed, what happens to the judgment in the Court of Appeal if the law is repealed? Is that still
Well, the government
stand?
still have the authority to implement
Right.
its mishap. I put it as that.
Okay.
Because it's foolishness to tell people you are deemed to have resigned.
Right.
The government can't resign you. All those pieces of things that they put in to change the Public Health Act, a primary piece of legislation, and also to change the Public Service Regulation.
Okay.
Remember, it says that you must be off the job for 10 consecutive days to be considered abandonment of duty.
Right.
So they changed that terminology, abandonment, that if you do not take the vaccine, you have abandoned your job.
Right.
And remember, there were people who walk right up to exam, they never leave the job. In fact, our colleague Brenton Smith was called on duty to go to court to give evidence. So if the man has abandoned his duty, how could you ask him to go to court to perform duty? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there was the issue with Cheflon Ballantyne,
Right. Yes.
who was doing work online,
Right.
never left his job. I know there's a teacher who walked right up to CPA exam, and as soon as the exam is finished, she got a letter to say you have abandoned your job.
Right.
And there were persons who went to work, but the government passed a law to say if you go to work, you're entering the workplace illegally.
Yes, I remember.
So all these foolish pieces of things that they put there is now haunting them. And the government have no choice right now because election is in the air. Time has catch up with them. People would have suffered tremendously in one way or the other. Economic assassination is what actually was brought upon by the government of this country. And I'm sure that the Guinness Book of Records need to take this into consideration. It's the only government in the world that would have passed this kind of mandate to say that people they are deemed to have resigned, they have abandoned the job, and all these kind of crazy things. And now time has catch up with you. You realize you're losing it. You're telling the workers, oh, I'm going to go now to pass a law. Well, probably the law would be passed close to the date of election. Yes?
So my question is this now, because this is sort of interesting to me now. If you pass this new law to say that
you get your pension.
you get your pension.
I mean, you don't have any
Basically,
pension now.
You don't have a pension now, but you got your pension. But the other smaller laws that came before that, in terms of if you enter the workplace, you enter illegally, and so what happens to all of those laws?
He is not going to change that vaccine mandate because remember he said he's right what he did.
Right.
He did it to protect lives, to save lives. But you know, the persons who took the vaccine, they got COVID. COVID was in the schools.
Right.
So that narrative is unfounded. It's not based on any foundation.
Right.
Right? So, for example, teachers who went back to work, good. When they apply for the vacation leave, the Service Commission tell them they didn't work long enough.
Right.
So right away you know that the government would have misled the nation even misled themselves. Because you can't tell somebody they have not worked long enough to get the vacation leave when they started to work many years ago, many decades ago. Right? And all the workers who went back were given the date the 23rd. 2023, sorry. To say that that's the time you start to work. When that's not so.
Right. Some are 2023, some are 2024.
Yeah. The person that have 2 appointment letters, you know. The one when they started to work way back then, and a recent one. So they are confusing themselves. You see, and it is very sad that it has to reach to that point when the authorities could have just said, swallow your pride, man, and just don't allow people to suffer. Now you're coming back to the same people and appearing as if you're repenting, but the vaccine mandate is still there. That is still the law of the land. That is not changed. Because you know is it the United Nations or the WHO? They passed a resolution recently that governments could impose any mandate when it comes to those kind of natural epidemics and so on and pandemic. So, I mean, it's right there before our eyes. And I'm not sure if the policemen were allowed to come back. Because I know the new recruits would have already received their numbers.
And would they have been numbers from previous officers?
Yes, it's like you were a police officer that was dismissed. And I am now joining the force. I don't get your number ready. So that is clearly showing that all your records would have been dissolved, using that terminology. In other words, you were fired by the government. They don't want to admit that they dismissed the workers. They say the workers abandoned their job. You know? So here is another blunder by the state and trying to say, I am going to the parliament to pass a law. It's the same thing when we have our Article 5, Article 6, which was in a previous collective agreement, which speaks about the election leave. The government said it was aspirational. And they come back and use that same article and pass a law. Because they have a lot of public servants now running for election. So they make sure they're setting them up. If they lose the election, they will get back the job with all benefits intact. When we said that long time ago, that's what we agreed upon. But you had 3 members of the teachers union who ran for political office, and the government denied them of justice. They suffered for many years. I think, blessed memory, Elvis Daminel, who gone to the great beyond, he didn't get all his benefits because he died shortly after retirement. You see? And they did the same thing to Otto Sam just because he expressed his freedom of expression. And then at some point you'd hear about Adriana King, who stood up to exercise her right to protest. You know? And when we look at injustice, it's not limited to what is in the code. Because you know you have a lot of teachers today who are yet to be appointed. And I could call names, but I will run the risk of forgetting some. But we have many teachers who have already completed their first degree. Some of them have gone on and do masters and yet they get appointed as a graduate.
Some of them have even completed their masters.
That's what I just said. Yes.
They said they gone on and did it. So we don't want persons to
No, they finished. Some of them are pursuing now. Some have already completed.
And what is interesting here, I mean, you swayed over to the other part of justice denied, but
all of them is in the mix.
It's okay.
So when we say justice, remember I said earlier, it's not only what is in the court system, but it's, and we could listen to more.
But I was about to say, what makes it so difficult or what makes it so taxing is that, for example, and I'm just using an analogy here, you and I would have done a first degree. I finished ahead of you. You finished about a year after me. And because you know somebody or something
because I have a red card.
Yes. Or
Because I belong to the party in power,
Right.
I am going to get
Get
the
that
appointment
ahead
above
of-
you.
yes,
So you see, appointment and promotion
Yes.
is done in an ad hoc fashion.
Yes, and I have experienced that myself. I mean,
Yeah.
but oh well.
So when you take so long to appoint people,
Right.
that is justice denied
Yes,
because it's delayed. And you have the teacher tools. We have people in the system who have A levels.
right.
They're supposed to be appointed their teacher too. But you have them as teacher one. Cheap labor. You understand?
Right.
And the whole, there's another issue, you know. Because when you have persons and the yes and the set program, and you put them in the classroom to teach,
Yeah.
the government is going against its own policy. Because you must be teacher trained before you enter the classroom. So you are denying the students justice. You are denying them quality teaching, quality education. That is the revolution that the government is boasting about.
Yeah, because I recall there is a recent document they're trying to adopt, the OECS, standardize. And part of that is that you must be teacher trained.
You must have the qualification, the certification.
Certification and everything to be in the classroom. And that question was asked, what about the yes and the set program workers, you know, who are currently teaching full time in the classroom? And, you know, it was kind of like, well, you know, they will give them the opportunity to, you know, go to school and so on. But a lot of these yes and set program workers, you know,
they may have the content,
They may
but
have
the
content.
methodology,
Yeah.
the
And some of them,
pedagogy is
they don't
what is
really want
important.
to teach. Some of
Yeah.
them, they just
for job.
for job.
Yeah.
And, you know, probably they intend to go off and study.
Yeah.
You know, some of them would have studied and came back and they're not in their field because they didn't study, they didn't have pedagogical skills.
Teaching.
Right. They
How do you
come-
manage a classroom?
Right.
Classroom
exactly.
management is a
Exactly.
critical aspect of teaching.
Right.
If you don't have the skills to do that and the knowledge and the attitude, the children there, especially they among your same age group,
Right.
they're going to overrule you.
Right.
Sad to say that.
Yeah, definitely so.
So we need to really do justice to the nation's children and ensure that you have teacher trained persons in the classroom. We need more quality teachers in the classroom. Okay?
Yeah.
Because when you when you listen to some of the stories, you come in and you just write up some notes on the board and you sit down there and you want the children there. You have to interface, you have to interact, you have to question, and you must be more or less receptive. That the students there, some of them, they are very smart, they may want to be critical thinkers to question you, and you have to be prepared for that. Nothing is wrong with that once it is done in a mature, respectable way. Because we have to promote respect for authority. You understand? And it must be mutual.
Definitely so.
But if you come there and you start to teach and you just sit down and you call out a whole 3-4 pages of notes, that is not teaching.
That's definitely not.
And a lot of that is happening.
Uh-huh.
And it is happening, especially those who are not members of the teachers union. Those who just left the college and come into the classroom because the government or some parliamentary representatives say, give them a job. A lot of the principals need to put up a resistance against this thing because they are impacting on the teamwork at the school level and the staff.
Okay. So, Robbie,
You have a guest.
We have a guest.
Right, good.
So we have our guest. Our guest is joining us thanks to the World Wide Web of, you know, technology and so on. She's joining us by a stream. Yeah, right. So give me a second. Let me do what I have to do here. Okay. So welcome.
There I am.
Can you hear me?
There I am.
Okay, so I can't hear you.
I'm hearing you. But the reception seems to be a little poor.
Do I need the headphones to hear her? I shouldn't need the headphones to hear her. Give me a second. Adriana, just give me a second. Let me just sort this out, okay? Let me get the lovely Jill to come and try and sort this out here for me. Okay. So, Robbie, in the meantime, you want to talk about the workshop?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we want to encourage members of the teachers union to register. There's a line, there's a link
Yeah.
that is sent to all schools. If you don't have it, let us know. You're in a branch, you're in a steward chat, you're in a branch chat. You need to register so that we know, we get the numbers. We need to know the number of persons we have to cater for lunch and for transportation refund. So we want you to register so that we have the required numbers to work with. Remember, the workshop is coming up on the 14th of this month, and we go until the 25th. Right? So we're looking forward to see many of you. And before you go on, we want to remind people that concerning the insurance, you have to complete that enrollment.
Right.
You can't just go and claim benefits if you're not enrolled. You must enroll on the insurance.
And it doesn't mean that you're starting afresh.
Right, so you
Right.
need to repeat that so that people
It does
understand.
not mean that you are new to the program. What it just is, it's just for them to have data, just to have.
They
for
need
them
the
to-
profile, they need
to
your
the
profile.
yes.
So that it is in the system, because remember it's a new insurance
Right.
company.
So welcome, Adriana. Can you hear me? Oh, well, I know you can hear me. Let me know if you speak. Let me know if I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah,
Can
but
you
just
hear
like
me
you
now,
do.
Fiona?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I definitely can hear you. Okay, good.
Okay,
So,
good.
but Robbie needs to hear her. So we'll figure out Robbie in a bit. Okay. So now, persons on Radio Land, won't know, but we are on StreamYard, so everybody is seeing you on the internet, and you look little gorgeous. So don't worry about the hair and
Not
everything
little,
like
she's
that.
gorgeous.
So introduce yourself, and we'll get.
Before Adriana comes in,
okay,
we
before-
want to congratulate Adriana
Oh,
and the
yeah.
success of her daughter at the CPA exam. Congratulations, job well done as a responsible parent, single parent.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Robbie.
So go ahead. So let St. Vincent know who you are, although they already know who you are. So don't be shy. Go ahead.
Hearing that, right?
Yeah, she's hearing, but I think it's a bit delayed. Can you hear me, Adriana? Okay, I think we may have
Yeah,
lost
it's breaking
her.
up.
Yes,
I
it
keep
is.
losing signal. I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
It's raining up by me, so I don't know if that's part of the problem.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead.
But okay.
Okay, I think she has a problem again. So while Adriana gets herself sorted, or the link is started.
I hear
Yeah, okay. While that is
Yeah.
sorted,
Okay.
okay. So
Yeah.
Wanna
you're
try?
really break-
Yeah.
Okay.
Using my phone in
Instead, so I'm going to
instead and
just
see if that
Okay,
can
so- okay. So are you gonna just switch one time? Yes. So she's back out. So Robbie, we would continue until she comes back in. Yes, she is back. She's out.
Okay.
So we were And another issue we have been having of is this justice delayed or justice denied? I don't know, what you call it. But in terms of the grievance procedure that should, should occur when teachers have issues, whether with other teachers, students, administration in the classroom. So, persons will have disagreements. We will have issues. We're only human. So what really should happen when there is a disagreement or when there's an issue in the school setting with regards to teachers? How should that be handled? And the reason why I'm asking that is because, sometimes we are in a culture where somebody would say something and somebody would say something else, and then as a result of that, somebody is inadvertently pressured because of what is stated instead of the facts, instead of understanding context. And as a result of that, you probably would have teachers being, or not even just teachers, workers in general being transferred, being shifted as a disciplinary measure instead of going through the correct procedure to find out or to solve the issue.
Well, very good question. Well, first of all, what we encourage schools to do is to elect a steward
Right.
and an assistant steward. The steward is the union's rep at the workplace.
Right.
Some people say shop steward. It's
Shop
the same
steward,
thing.
yes, the same thing.
So that person must be engaged, must be involved. But first of all, it is the staff that must elect the steward and the assistant steward. It's not the principal.
Right.
Principal can't come and say, well, it's because you may even elect somebody that is not a member of the union.
Precisely. And the steward must be a member of the
Exactly.
union. Okay, I'm seeing Adriana back on. I'm going to try and add her back to the stage. So you continue while I do what I have
Yes.
to do.
So the once there's a grievance at the school level, the steward must be involved on par with the principal of the school to try
Right.
to resolve the matter.
Okay.
So nobody should be reporting to the ministry, and either party doesn't know.
Okay. So let me see. So Adriana, are you with us?
I am with you.
Oh yes, and we're hearing you loud and clear.
Good.
Okay, so you go right ahead and do what you do best. Introduce yourself, and then we'll get to it.
Okay, so for those who are listening, do not know. My name is Adriana King. I am a graduate teacher. I have been in the classroom off and on since about 2000 and what's that?
2018, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started a year teaching when I finished the level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did some other jobs in between and back to teaching.
Right.
So I am graduate at secondary school level. I teach English A and English B.
Mm-hmm.
I could now consider myself an author because during this time when I'm home, halfway, I've made use of whatever interest I've been granted by more family. And I've just come to do writing manual for children who are around the CPA and generally everybody struggles with writing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I mentioned before, and that's because of the protests that were years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been on the for about 4 years or so.
4 years.
About that.
So, for persons who don't know the backstory, can you give us a synopsis? I know you know that word as an author. Can you give us a synopsis of the backstory so that we can catch everybody up before we go forward? Okay, so
I was accused of the Prime Minister from Parliament.
so
Then
you were-
I was that did not happen, but here I am. The charge was changed about 3 times, I think, after that. The most recent is
I did something as a precautionary move to try to appear. Something like that.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Okay, so before we get to the most recent charge, the last time you were on the program on Teachers Talk, which was about a year ago or so,
Yeah.
yes, you were awaiting a court trial, right, for said accusations, right?
Yeah.
And tell us what happened between then and now. Did you get your day in court?
I did.
Uh-huh.
And that was stayed by Magistrate John Dodd.
So you're saying the matter was stayed. Explain to us lay people what that means.
Okay, so stay basically means it was, I don't want to use word, but in layman terms, that's basically what it is. That was more or less told there wasn't a case, and he figured the matter was before the court long enough.
Uh-huh.
It should have been done away after 6 months.
Right.
Right?
So it should have been done away after 6 months, but
it carried
for years. So, 4 years basically, give or take.
So he basically said, no, everything by today, I'm not going to go forward with this. And I didn't do anything. But when I'm saying you do have, well, any other matter, you have the option of appealing.
Mm-hmm.
The DPP,
both sides have the option of appealing.
I didn't have any reason.
Right.
I told simply been dated
Right. Mm-hmm.
and given back my piano. That. But here comes the DPP. And they pulled the sentence report with the teachers' case and they were going to appeal. And we have a thing in the country now that once the DPP says that, it is taken as though a judge or magistrate has made a ruling. So nothing happened. Then I was not reinstated. I did not receive any money, nothing like that. Now the union has been writing to the chief officer for quite some back and forth. And one of the things that she was waiting on word from the commissioner to say whether or not it should be reinstated. That there's no.
Right.
Now, obviously, they don't have a date to appear for everybody. I've never been staged. It's before the judiciary. So we waited, and I think it was like last week, maybe around this time.
Right.
So earlier this week, and here's where things get real. Because remember, waiting on word from the commission too.
Right.
The union asking what the holds of.
Right.
And they said now we're speaking to the commissioner.
Right.
The commissioner, Andrew Williams, responds to say that the matter has been appealed. AD. That an appeal has been made. It has been appealed.
Okay, right.
No, not received.
Were you aware of that?
No, I was not.
Okay.
And the union wasn't, and the lawyer wasn't. So the union wrote the commission and said, okay, could you send these documents to us? Because Ms. King has no information on the appeal that you're claiming has been made. No, I cannot.
Everybody is lost right here.
Right?
But let's say this letter went off to the commissioner on a Monday, and we gave them, Robbie could correct me on this, I think it's 2 weeks to respond, 2 weeks or a week. So let's say the letter went in this Monday. By Thursday, I'm standing outside of my house waiting for a van to go into Kingston. And here comes an officer of the court to serve me the document. And guess what? Here's where it gets even funnier.
Remember, since last year they said they were going right?
Right.
Good. Remember the commissioner said we did appeal?
Right.
Right. But when we did get the documents of the appeal, they were dated just this year.
So
As a matter of fact, they were dated after the commissioner was on. So the appeal was made until the union demanded the documents to show that an appeal.
so okay. There's so many questions I want to ask here.
And I hope that.
I hope so too because I need a little bit of clarity here. So the DPP stated that they're going to appeal
Yes.
since last year.
Since last year.
The documents were not dated as of last year; they were dated
No,
this year.
no.
So what happened? What was supposed to happen between that date last year? Thank you, my love. That date last year and the date of the documents this year. What should have happened there?
What should have happened was we should have been
Right? With
I
your
should have
benefits
my money that's
Yes.
owed me.
And the yellow ones too.
and the year allowance, all of those niceties. Yes.
Allowance unlawfully.
Mm-hmm.
I got notice. Well, I shouldn't say got. I had to call the ministry, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I was told the chief officer messenger gave that my name to be removed from the list. I went over to salary. And later I was told by the PS, by end of year allowance, PS to me that they were writing commitments to the attorney general for guidance. And I'm like, for guidance, when you've already made a decision, you've already end of year allowance. So you can't write them for guidance at this. No, send back a letter. Well, few enough people will think that this is some sort of thing I'm not. But anyway, the AG sent back a letter.
Okay, so Adriana, I am being asked to ask you to turn on echo cancellation. Or if you are listening the show on a different device, so can you turn it down? So are you listening the show on your radio or anything like that?
I'm just using my cell phone.
Okay, so just turn on the echo cancellation, please, because we are hearing
On.
It's on?
Yeah, there's a Bluetooth.
Okay, all right. So we are hearing a heavy feedback, though. We're trying to figure out but I think it's. Anyway, go ahead.
No, take time. Just wait in the audio.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, I think we lost her. She'll come back on. So, Robbie, you have to continue this story. As the president of the union, you have been writing with regards to
Well, first
Adriana.
of all,
Sorry, I tried to go back to the first screen and I went straight out.
Yeah.
Okay.
She there?
Yeah,
Should I continue?
Yes, go
Yes,
ahead.
you continue.
Okay. So the Attorney General Grenville Williams sent word back to the ministry, but nobody ever sent me that letter. I don't have a copy of that letter.
So, do you know what was
Yes.
stated?
No, I don't, and I'll get to that. So that was done. Then the next year, which was last year, it happened again. Now I went to the ministry this year to see my file. I was allowed to see the file, but I was denied copies of what's on it. That letter from the AG was on it, but they were having a meeting that afternoon. So I simply asked, okay, could I just get copies and then I'll take them and read them and make whatever moves afterwards. This is where things get very theatrical. So the young lady said to me, "Wait outside."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there waiting, and then she came out and she said, "I couldn't get copies of everything." I said, "But it is my file, and by law, I'm entitled to copies of whatever is on there."
Mm-hmm.
The PS comes in and starts the meeting. Then I heard my voice from a recording that's on my Facebook page.
Right.
And then the PS said something to the effect of, "Let good judgment prevail."
Mm-hmm.
And then the meeting ended.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and lights started going off.
Mm-hmm.
People started marching out.
It was a hurricane.
And, and I'm there looking at everybody trying to figure out, okay, what's going
What's
on?
happening? Right.
Yeah. And then one guy said something like, "Look, the current gone." But then I'm seeing lights on in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
The lights in the main area were off, but there was an office in front of me, and those lights were on.
Maybe it's
And
a
it was at
different
that point,
breaker. I don't know.
I don't know. So at that point,
Mm-hmm.
thoughts of Sherman Joseph Barnwell came into my head,
Right.
and I started recording. I think I actually did a live
Mm-hmm.
of me exiting
Mm-hmm.
because I said, "No way am I going to be left in there for anybody to come and manhandle me."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've
Were you
since
manhandled though?
asked, no,
I'm just making
no, no,
sure.
no,
Clear.
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Yeah. Right.
I wrote to them about 2 or 3 months ago after that,
Mm-hmm.
asking for my documents to be sent to the union,
Mm-hmm.
and till now that has not been done.
So I'm gonna get to Robbie just now, but I need to ask you a question. Has for this new case because they were going to appeal. So is there a set date for this appeal?
No, not as yet.
And what is there a new charge laid or something?
No, they're just appealing the old matter about me having blocked or having thoughts of blocking or doing something to
But
think of doing something to
wasn't
block.
that the same thing that the learned judge stated was too long in the court and it should have been dealt
Thank
with
you.
in 6 months
Thank
time
you.
and it doesn't make
Thank
sense
you. According to law.
according to law because it's really
Mm-hmm.
4 years is a long time for this
Mm-hmm.
simple. Note I say
Yep.
simple. It's not a criminal case, is it? Is it
It
not?
is a criminal matter,
Well,
darling.
it's a criminal
It is a
case.
criminal matter
It's a
with a
criminal
jail sentence attached.
Get out of town.
And she had
No,
to surrender her
darling.
documents, right?
So
No, I didn't surrender, but because I've been interdicted, if I want to leave the state, I have to ask permission.
okay,
Yes. So I'm basically in prison here in St. Vincent Grenadines.
you're stuck.
Yeah, I'm in prison. I've been imprisoned here.
Okay, so Adriana, I'm going to turn over to Robbie for a little bit now. So Robbie, we have been, as a union, as a president, you have been writing
Exactly.
and speaking consistently about this matter.
Correct.
Injustice.
This injustice.
Yes.
This is both a case of justice delayed and justice
Yeah,
denied.
yeah.
So, where are we at now? Now that I don't even know what to say. This
Well,
is
well-
it seems like everything is in limbo at this stage. Everybody, I mean, Adriana's life
Because there's no law
definitely
guiding what is
in
happening
limbo.
to you now.
Yeah.
There's no law guiding this.
Right. So it just seems to me that things are being put together as you go along.
Correct.
I could be wrong because I'm. So yeah, Robbie. So
Yeah,
where
so-
are we now?
So, first of all, let me say that after we wrote the CPU,
Right.
Chief Personal Officer, we indicated in that letter
Right.
that since the matter has been
Stayed.
stayed, then it's time for Adriana to be reinstated, go back into the classroom,
Right.
so that the students at grammar school would get justice.
Right.
So the government has delayed the justice. So it's affecting the school and it's affecting Adriana
Right.
as a worker,
Right.
as opposed to stood up for her exercising her fundamental right and freedom. Then that is the time the chief posting officer said to us, she has not received any report from the police.
Right.
So if you're charged of something, the commissioner of police must, it's not automatic that you just go back. The commissioner of police must inform or submit a report to the chief posting officer to say charges have been withdrawn or whatever,
Right.
and you could proceed with reinstating. The commissioner of police said to us, it took a while before they responded, probably about a month or so to report,
Wow.
to respond to a letter. Because we wrote in December, and it's sometime in January, I think, we got a response saying that he does not have any report and that the government they would appeal or has appealed, something to that effect. So then we wrote again and asked so that documentation
Right.
to show about an appeal because Adriana didn't receive any
Right.
notification.
Which she clearly
Right.
indicated, yes.
And Adriana is correct. Shortly after that, she received that notice that the matter would be appealed. But no date has been set. We need to make a point again that this is a discrimination against a woman. And this is something that has implication for one's fundamental right. Freedom of association. Adriana associated herself with a picket, the peaceful picket. She was singled out. So you're discriminating. You're treating her differently than everybody else. Right? And you're doing that to a woman who stood up for justice,
Okay.
for equal rights. Something that affected the whole nation,
Right.
the entire workforce, because there was a vaccine
Mandate
mandate.
at the
And
time.
she came out and she stood up
Right.
and she protested. Right? And this matter has been in the court for 4 years now.
4 years.
Where else in the Caribbean something else like that has happened or could have happened? Or any part in the world. So that's another thing to go down in the Guinness Book of Record. That the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines continue to discriminate, to violate one's fundamental right, freedom of association. The trade unions call workers to protest.
Right.
We went through the procedure,
And
informed the commissioner
several
of police.
trade unions were
Yeah,
protesting at the time, yes.
And we have freedom of association,
Right.
which is a fundamental right.
Right.
We follow the procedure under the Trade Union Act.
Right. Be
And-
informed of the protest.
Yes, we
Yes.
inform them of the protest,
Yes.
time and place and
Time
everything.
and place, yes.
And then Adriana was locked up. In one instance, Adriana was locked up even before the other protest took place.
Yes.
They locked her up in advance.
Yes. Yes.
You understand?
Yes, yes.
And
I
all
remember
these things
that.
have been happening to her.
Yes.
She's a single parent. She has to survive. What do you want her to do? And you have this thing going on, and these are the people coming and talk about love, and they love people. And you have a woman who has a young child now. Thank God she has passed the exam. Very good in flying colors, 92
Exceptional.
point something percent,
Right.
92.2%. And you know, congratulations to Adriana and her daughter. And now his child has to go into secondary school. She needs that support.
With
So
half-pay.
what the government is trying to do now is to deny that child of quality education, and that is an injustice.
Okay, so I am going back to Adriana now, who is on half pay, as she has been stating quite vocally since she came on the program. Adriana, Again, congrats to your daughter. Congrats to you as
Thank
a single
you.
mother. And I know what that is like. I know. Trust me, I do. So, I was going to play devil's advocate, but I'm just going to shift from that a little bit, and I'm just going to focus in on the implications of this on you as a single parent and on your family, right? Um, Having a secondary school entrant is no joke. It's not for the
No,
weak.
it's not.
It is a lot. It takes a lot out of you financially, right? So, what exactly are the implications here? Because, persons would say, well, she knows this person and she knows that person and she could beg here or she could ask there, and persons would come on board and help. But you don't strike me as if you are the type of single mother like I was. We don't like to beg. We like
No,
to
we
know
don't.
we want to do what we have to do for our children.
We like to go down the road, pull out our purse,
Yes,
and pull out
yes.
our money.
Pull out our money, die inside about the cost of the books, but still buy them. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So what are the implications here for you and your daughter?
Before I answer that question, I just want to say this in relation to my file at the Ministry of Education. There are actually letters on my file from the Commissioner of Police,
Mm-hmm.
and I do not have copies of those letters. Like they've never been sent to me, but there they are on my file.
So your
that's
legal
your question.
representation do not have access to these letters either.
No,
Very interesting.
but they're there at the Ministry of Education,
Okay.
and nobody has ever sent them to me.
Mm.
So, in relation to your question, I cannot say that it has been easy.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people when I have to cry, I cry.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to curse, I curse. But the good thing about all of this, I always say my daughter's a blessed child. And she has not been wanting for anything. I have family and I have friends who have stepped up and, offered assistance over the time. I too have done what was needed in terms of retooling.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned this before. I learned to sew. When Robbie called me earlier, I was downstairs cutting some fabric and I got completely cut up.
Mm-hmm.
So I sew, I bake. If somebody wants me to do any sort of editing, I'll get it done. Classes, Fiona, I do what is necessary. I do what I could, and that is lawful
Mm-hmm.
to put bread on my table. But here we are now, we're going to secondary school, and having taught in this area for a while, I know what the demands are going to be.
Oh yeah.
And I know that this little girl who was a baby, who was a brownie, is now going into guys.
Uh-huh. And that ain't cheap.
You have a whole set of other expenses that come.
Yes.
But she should not be denied these things because we have a dictator running our country. I have done nothing wrong, and she has done nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I hustle. But what is happening is grossly unfair and definitely should not be happening.
What would you say to because you just mentioned she should not be denied, right? But what would you say to a statement persons may say, well, it is just the justice system. A lot of cases take a very long time and yours is no different than any other.
No.
Because why do you feel no? Why do you say no?
I say no because I said this to the Prime Minister himself.
Mm-hmm.
That matter with actual what's her name? I can't even remember. The senator.
Yeah.
we know that was in the court system and out. He actually spoke about that matter and spoke about what he did somewhat with the police and all of that. He is somebody who says that he speaks to the commissioner of police every morning.
Right.
So I know for a fact that he knows what is happening here. And he knows that this whole charge is bogus.
But
Right.
why is it that he
Why
is
is it?
not going to court?
Right. That's what I'm about to
Good
ask.
question. He cannot go to court because if he goes there, he will have to perjure himself.
Because
When did Adriana King attempt to block you?
well, listen to me. That was me being devil's advocate. I was going to ask Adriana King, did you block the Prime Minister from entering the Parliament?
As I sit here before you, I could say I've never done such a thing. And the funny part of all of this, I keep using that phrase. When the Prime Minister was entering Parliament, I was nowhere near that gate. I was near the prison gate.
Uh-huh.
And so too was the officer who accused me of blocking him, Trevor Bushubeli.
Uh-huh.
He too was at that spot outing a fire. So neither of us was near the Prime Minister. And to add upon that, in Buju's statement, he said that I was standing at the main gate,
The main gate,
opposite
which
the
is the one
market.
opposite the central market?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what he says.
But
And while I was standing there, I held up my hand and I called the crowd from Corez and I told them, he's not going in here today. Yes, yes. But anybody who was in town that day could recall that that gate was blocked by the vans. There was an entire row of vans in front of that gate. And that gate was locked and guarded by SSU and Black Squad police officers.
so the Prime Minister could not really have entered that gate.
No, he couldn't have.
Right. Okay. Okay.
He couldn't have. And something else to in Buju's statement. He mentioned that while all of this was happening, I was on a live and I was speaking to his sister who's in New York. Now, that conversation that he's talking about with his sister did take place, but it took place like about 2 months before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused here.
Yeah, because you see, he just needed something to tie me
I
into that
think the next
whole
time I
thing.
have you on the program, I'm going to have to put up a chart and just do
Yes,
some sort of
knock out
mapping.
things.
Yeah,
Yes.
I need a map. I need a map. I am.
Because if you don't, you just go nuts trying to figure all of this out.
Yeah.
But the
And I
fact
don't
is,
think it's because
I've
my
never blocked
teacher
the Prime
brain is
Minister from
tired
entering
at this
Parliament.
time of it's the end of the term and my teacher brain is really, really tired.
No, it's
So
not that. It's not that. No, it's not that.
I'm really, really confused. So, Robbie, I mean, we're almost at the end of the program.
yeah.
So, what do we want in this case? What are you?
We
calling?
need justice.
I need
We
that.
need Adriana to be reinstated. We need the government
Thank you.
to stop this kind of punishment. Why you have to punish the lady like that? You know, and impacting on her freedom.
Well, I would say persecution.
Yeah, they're persecuting you. That's what they're doing. But before we end the program, I just want to mention a few things, and probably at a later date we could discuss them because we want to appreciate Adriana
Yes,
coming in the program
yes,
and
definitely.
sharing. But today's Adriana, tomorrow maybe somebody else.
Precisely.
Correct.
You know, and we need to rally around her and support her. We want the authorities to give her back a job.
Stop the madness. It's
Stop the-
madness.
It's more than madness. It's craziness. You know, there are two schools right now that we have written the ministry about.
Right.
I was in the Grenadines last week, and interestingly, I saw the water tank that Braxter installed at the Canavan Government School. It is evident that there was no water in it. 'Cause if water was in it, the wind would not have blown it down on the ground. I have a picture on it, and I will tell the whole nation about it. There's no water in the concrete tank,
Right.
and the other one above is empty.
Right.
I did a video of that, and I would release it to the press.
Okay.
I have been writing to the Ministry of Education about these things. They're not responding. The last school I wrote about is J.P. Eustace Memorial. All the Minister of Education said, noted with thanks.
Okay.
We're going to see what's going to happen with the European school. All the termites that's there, you have the there's a picture of the whiteboard just dropping off.
Probably by the time school
That is
reopens, there'll be
injustice
no
to the
school.
workers there.
The termites would probably have eaten it.
Yeah,
by then.
and the final point, you have teachers running adult education classes and you're not paying them. That is an injustice of the highest order.
Yeah.
And I hope, God's willing, when school reopen for September, the supplies are ready. Because the last time is week 7, they start to send food for the kitchen.
Right.
You understand? And other supplies which are much needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's it.
Adriana, we have to wrap up, but I'm gonna give you about a minute, not more than that, to just share your final thoughts, whatever they may be. I don't know if you want to offer a word of encouragement or anything at this time you want to say in this last minute. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say how proud I am of my daughter and all the other children of parents who are facing persecution from this government. Thank you to my union and to all others who have stood by me for the past couple of years. Without those, as it were, wind beneath my wings, I would not have been able to be standing here still. And so I'm really grateful to everyone who has extended whatever sort of help they could have. Whether it was just a word to say, Adriana, hang in there, a prayer, a little money here and there. Look, I cannot say thank you enough. To the teachers who are still out here fighting and all of the public servants, hang in there. If you need to retool, retool. Take time, learn a new skill, and just keep your head up. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Adriana, for coming on the program.
And thank you for having me.
All right. So, folks, you see, the thing is that when we have persons like Adriana, whose story is very impactful, it's very hard to just condense everything in one program. So, Adriana, don't be surprised if we have to call on you at a later time.
In the studio.
Yeah, in the studio via, StreamYard. So
yeah, we would assist you in getting
Well,
there.
hopefully my car will be back on the road.
Yes.
We would assist you.
So we'll figure something out, Adriana. So, folks, you have had another edition of Teachers Talk. Let me say thank you to Boom. Thank you to Adriana, of course, for being on the program. Thank you to Boom 106.9 FM for being here in studios with us on a Sunday, a Carnival Sunday. Jill, thank you so much. My friend Javed is somewhere in the back trying to sort out things. Thank you so much. I mean, I know that Javed is dressed as though he is going to Wet Republic or something, and he's like, no, but I mean, they could have been doing something else, and yet they're here with us in studios, and it's always greatly appreciated. Thank you for those of you who are locked on, whether via radio or Boom's live stream or Teachers Union's Facebook page. Thank you so much for being knocked on. Robbie, it's always a pleasure being in studios with you. You're kind of blocking my camera, Robbie. Right, good. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Now, folks, it is a very long weekend. And I just want to let you know that I've been seeing a lot of things from the Ministry of Health and, very important messages. So the Teachers Union wants you to be safe this weekend. So do the necessary things that you have to do to be safe. Do not drink and drive. Please don't. Make sure you have a designated driver. Do not leave home unless you know how you're getting back. Please do not leave children.
The driver who is not drunk.
Of course, the one who's not drunk. Please do not leave our children unattended during this time. Things have happened. Please, I know everybody wants to have a nice time, but you don't want to have to deal with the consequences of, a choice that may not necessarily, be a good choice, So please keep yourself safe, keep your property safe during this time, watch out for different things on the road. Stay hydrated, folks. Make sure you eat properly and all of that in your revelry. So it has been a pleasure being with you this Sunday. And remember, we'll be back next Sunday. So we're doing back-to-back Sundays. And Jill didn't know, but so Jill now knows. We're doing back-to-back Sundays. So next Sunday, we are going to have the persons who are going to facilitate the Teaching Together workshop, our Teachers Union workshop. We're going to have them in studios with us. They are Canadians and they're visiting some for the first time, I think. Yes, they're coming to our shows for the first time. We want to make sure, yes, we have our workshop set up and, but we want to make sure that they have a good Vincentian welcome and a good Vincentian time. So tune in next week. Make sure you get locked on. Teachers, don't forget to sign up for and register for the workshop, because you cannot get in unless we have that sign-in information, that sign-up information. Remember to sign up, enroll into our insurance program, our insurance health and medical program. It is very important for you to do so. You cannot claim unless you enroll. So you need to enroll. So go back, look back for the email and all of that. If you haven't gotten the email, you reach out and we'll get the email to you. So with all of that being said, and you notice I don't have a glass of water, but Robbie has that, but we'll get to that a little later. Yes, Jill. That's why I'm running out of breath. So with all of that being said, my name is Fiona Charles Williams, the PR of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union. I'm wishing you a safe Sunday, a safe and extended weekend. Good night and God bless.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.